So hello everyone, welcome to Technical Gupta YouTube channel. So hope you are good and fine. So in this video we will talk about the Azure Administrator Associate exam, and I'm happy to share that recently I gave this exam and I have cleared this exam in the window of the 2 month. So today we will discuss about the few topics like who should prepare this exam, what learning you will get, and what the career opportunity you will get after clearing this exam. So then we will talk about what is the complexity of this exam and how we will prepare, and what is the exam patterns, and then we talk about the when you give this exam, so which mode you should use, like it is a online, offline, and so then what kind of a questions and the case study you will ask. So let's start. So today I will show you my certification. So I logged into the Microsoft Learn portal, then we will go to the profile, then clicking on the credential, then certification. So here you can see the Azure Administrator Associate. So last year I cleared the Azure Developer Associate. So Azure Developer Associate is mainly for the developer which want to develop the compute resources, storage resources, that kind of stuff. And so this year I planned for the Azure Administrator Associate, because with this certificate you will have a knowledge in the field of Azure which is related to the administrator. How will you manage the identities, how will you manage the Azure infrastructure securely? So it is a more on the administrator related. So it has a very good concept of a Azure admin directory, and I want I want everyone should visit the Azure Active Directory, and this is a very good topic. So you should learn about and how it will use, and most of the all of the companies are using the Azure Active Directories to manage their identities. So let's see my certification. Okay, so this is my certification. So Microsoft has a three level of a exam. So one is a fundamental, then is a associate, and then it's a particular solution architect, which is a advanced category. Okay, so let's go to the certification, this Microsoft Learn page, and see what you need. So the role is an administrator, level is an intermediate, and renewal frequency is a 12th month. So what will be the overview? So as a candidate for this certification, you should have a subject matter expertise in the implementing, managing, monitoring, and organization Azure environment, including. So what's the benefit of getting this certification? So if you want to become an Azure administrator, so in any company, so what will be your primary responsibilities are? So you have to manage, Azure offer three kind of a services. So one is a compute services, then it has a storage services, then it has a virtual network, and as an administrator you have to manage all three services. And how will you manage that? With the identities, who will access these resources, and you will provide the security all these resources, and how will you governance or everything. So as a administrator role, so this if you think about, it is a very good role. If you learn the Azure administrator, so you will learn about all of the infrastructures which Azure offer, and how you will securely manage and provide access to these infrastructure. So probably you should be familiar with the operating system, networking, servers, and virtualization. So as you can see, you have to manage the virtual network, compute. So compute consists of a virtual machines, applications, right? Then you have a virtual network, how you will connect your different components. So this is again the virtual network comes into the pictures. So the primary like you should be familiar with the operating system, networking, servers, virtualization, and how will you like work with these services. So probably you need a script. You want, like, you still have an option to use the Azure portal, but uh, if you get familiar with the PowerShell and the CLI, so what's the benefit of that? You can automate the script, right? You cannot do manually, go to the portal and do everything manually. So instead of that, you can write a script, so script will run and do the jobs. So let's talk about the how big, like there are total 6 main modules which you need to cover. So what first is a prerequisite, then you have to manage the identities and governance. So in this module you will learn about the Azure ADs and how, like, you will manage the active directories and all the stuff. Then you have to manage the virtual network, then there is a storage, then there is a compute resources, and how will you, like, you have configured virtual network, storage, compute, and you also learn how you can use the identities to provide the access to these resources. But the most important thing is a backup and the monitoring. So this, in this module you will learn about. So there are total 6 modules, and these modules are really lengthy in terms of, if you see the time, so it's around, if we take a sum, so it's around 22 to 23 hours. Then if we talk about the exam, so exam is 100 minutes, so you will probably have 50 questions. And if I talk about, like, is it sufficient, the 100 minute, I would say no, because if you see, the questions were very, very lengthy. So the most of my time just went by reading in the questions. And the thing is that the question is not simple. Like, if you see the fundamental exam, so you have straightforward answer, but when we talk about this associate kind of a exam, so you have to read the question, then you have to map everything whatever mentioned in the question. So when I was in the exam, so at the time, like, the questions were very, very lengthy, and my most of the time was just reading the stuff and trying to map everything. And question was not that much simple. Like, they will use everything. They will use identity, active directories, Entra ID, now which we'll call in as a Entra ID. They will use a virtualization, VM, backups, and the particularly the storage. So they will entire questions, they just mix all the concept, and that's make the question little bit complicated. And when you see the answers, so all answers seems to be similar. So probably, like, you should before you giving the exam, I would suggest you to give the mock certifications, or you can check, there are some other things, so you can check out. Okay, so what's the price in USA? It's a 165 USD, and I'm from the India location. Let's see the price. So price is around 5,000. And I want to say one more thing. So if you have a corporate ID, so you can use that ID, because most of the corporate, they have some kind of a, like, a collaboration with the Microsoft. So they will offer you by default 50% if you just log in with the Microsoft with your corporate email ID. So just try to see that if you have, so it will be beneficial for you. And when you give the exam, so you have 2 options. So let's suppose I'm clicking over there, so you have to provide the details. Then let's go to site, Pearson view. So you have 2 options, either you go to the test center or you can go to the online on view. So I preferably use the online, because when you go to the you have to get the time to go to test center and all the stuff, and most of the people's like they don't have access to the test center, so they don't be the nearby to location. So if the test center is nearby your location, so you should probably go to over there. But if it's a far, so you still have option to go with the online. So in the online you have to set up, so probably your computer testing space should be empty, should be clear. Okay, and so before giving you have to run the system test. Then you should have a particular one ID which has a signature and your address and your photo, like your picture on that. So probably you can use this stuff. So with that you can schedule your exam. And let's talk about the exam. So now the Microsoft, all the role base, which is the administrator or the developer associator or the roles which are like the certification above that, so all have a Microsoft open book. What does it mean, Microsoft open book? Now you can use the Microsoft Learn portal to search the things, because in the certification there was some question which required to look after the Learn portal. Let's suppose there are some question which will talk about like for particular app service instance, what will you use, like whether it's a basic, standard or premium, based upon the some number of instances. So these are the some static content that you can just look after if you use the Microsoft Learn. So you don't need to remember the static context or the content. So probably everything you can get through with the Microsoft Learn portal. So here you can, like, if you are not familiar with the concept, so in the exam I have a one question which is related to the Azure backup. So I was searching like this. Okay, so what happened after that? So when I tried to search like this, so it was not working. But if you see, like, it is saying Azure backup, okay, Azure /backup and everything like this. But in the exam, what you should do, instead of this, you should use the quote. Okay, so if you use the quote, so it will give you the proper response. So the thing is that, like, the Microsoft has opened the Learn portal in the exam, but to particular search a keyword, it's still a complex things. So I was just a little bit like there was few things which was new in the exam, and I was not clear about the particular the key terms of the services. So I was trying to search that, but it doesn't help me out. So later I came to home and I found, so if you search the keywords under the double quote, then you will get the particular this page. Or what else you can do, so if still it will not work, so you can just open this and you can type the Azure. Okay, so if you go to this site, so it will give you all the popular services which is related to the compute and everything. So probably it might be helpful to you. So the thing is that, like, Microsoft has it's a open notebook exam, but the thing is that how you should know how to search in the Microsoft Learn portal. So if you able to search properly, probably you will able to get some questions, like 3 to 4 questions easily. And okay, so this is all about the exam, and now we will talk about like who should prepare for this exam. So as it is an intermediate exam, so I would suggest so who has already working on the Azure, or he has if someone has a prior experience, so probably they can look after, because they have to manage the infrastructure and the roles. But if you are a new and you don't have any experience, so you should start with the Azure fundamental, and it's just a beginner exam. Okay, and it's not that much complicated, but it will just give you the overview of a Azure infrastructures, right? And like it doesn't have any particular prerequisite, so they just give you the overview about the Azure and how, and it's a very worth to get this exam, because it's a first ladder that you have to step on. So after that you can give the If you are a developer, then you can probably look after the Azure Developer Associate. So I also have that exam in my bucket. Okay, so let's see what different exam like certification do I have. Certifications. So I have Azure Developer Associate, Administrator, and before that I just gave the Azure AI Fundamentals, and that's the thing. So like learning is a continuous process. So as we are in the IT industry, and if you see everything is evolving, so probably you should evolve your learning, because which make you always be ready for the competitive market. And what's the benefit of giving this exam? So you will get a lot of learning. So before this exam, I have the some kind of a knowledge which is related to the Azure, like how the normally we can deploy the applications, the virtual machine. But I was not much aware of the networking, how the networking work, and how we will create the identities, which is a user application, and how like entire the system. If we talk about the organization, how they are managing all their identity, user, application, and securely access to their infrastructure. So the thing you will learn in the Azure Administrator Associate, the Entra ID, so which is previously known as the Active Directory, the virtual networks, and it's a very worthwhile to learn this concept, and it really help you. So what career opportunity you will get after this? So once you clear this exam, you can look after the job roles in the cloud technologies. So probably you can serve as an administrator, or you are in your company, so probably you can more look after the cloud related task. So probably it's a very good opportunity. So you will get a lot of opportunity after clearing this exam. So I hope this video find you very well, and let me know if you have any questions. So thank you, and bye bye.